So here we are in the midst of the sermon series that I've been working on in Universalism. And today I continue this series of the principles of Unitarian Universalism. And these are actually our covenant. They all start with, we covenant to affirm and promote these principles. Today we're working on principles 3 and 4, and I'm going to start the conversation about principle 3 with a reading that is adapted from Unitarian theologian Bernard Loomer. Now, I'll say that he uses the word soul. I invite you, humanist scoofers, not to get hung up on the religiosity of the word soul, but to hear it as an individual essence, the essence of the you of you, right? Your moral and emotional center. That's how we're working with soul here today. Bernard Loomer wrote this: what is the size of your soul? What is your soul's ability to grow and expand, to stretch when life throws more contradictions your way? By size, I mean the capacity of a person's soul, the range and depth of their love, their capacity for relationship. I mean, the volume of life you can take into your being and still maintain your integrity and individuality. The intensity and variety of outlook you can entertain in the unity of your being without feeling defensive or insecure. I mean the strength of your spirit to encourage others to become freer in the development of their diversity and uniqueness. I mean the power to sustain more complex and enriching tensions. I mean the magnanimity of concern to provide conditions that enable others to increase in stature. Whew. There's a lot in that. And as I read it, you see with my body, I want to increase my sense of breadth, the space that my interior life can both take up and give out. Our third principle says we covenant to affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. There are things that are happening in the world that I want to tie to our principles, but first, let me unpack this a little bit. I titled this Principles in Practice. How do we take these values and live them out into the world? Sometimes I think acceptance can feel like tolerance. I tolerate you. I'll tolerate your difference. I'll tolerate your grumpiness. I'll accept that we are here or part of this together, but I don't really have to like it. And I think acceptance does hold that quality. I don't have to like driving on the snow, but I better accept it and make adjustments because it is the reality of this day. I may not like working with somebody who is scattered in their thoughts and doesn't return emails quickly enough, but I better accept it because that's the reality, right? We have to make allowances for each other in congregational life. Part of everything that we do is to do it together in congregational life. If I want to be a spiritual being off on my own, then I don't have to worry about an acceptance other people. But if I'm going to do this, hear one another, take in the reality of other people's lived experience, and learn to grow within those accepted realities. Does that make sense? I think that is where acceptance of one another comes in. And encouragement to our spiritual growth brings in those things that Loomer talked about. That idea of the power to sustain complex tensions within ourselves, the power to help other people grow. What do you need to grow the size of your soul? Where do I feel pinched in my soul, my essence of self? And what can I find within this community to help unstick that place and grow with it? Many of you know I grew up in a fundamentalist church, and I left all that behind, and I was happy to not think about it ever until I became a church lady again, right? And I think a lot about my grandmother taking food to the shut-ins, or the ways that we care for each other in congregation. And I had to make peace with where my soul was pinched about that old congregation, and find the things that I could appreciate about it. What it meant to be in community, what it meant to care for each other, what it meant to sing together, right? To sing together is a thing. Unsticking our pinched places, both for ourselves and for and with each other, is a way that we practice encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Now, one of the ways that I think about these principles is, what is their opposite? When the framers of these were articulating who would we be as Unitarian Universalists, they were articulating the antithesis of something else. Acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth, to me, sounds like an antidote to an old kind of puritanicalism, right? I don't really accept you because you don't do things correctly, right? There is a right way and a wrong way, and I know the right way, and it is given to us by scripture, by custom, by law. There's a way to be in the world, and that is the way it is, and if you are not inside that, then you are out. I think that's an old kind of puritanicalism. And by showing yourself to be upright and acceptable, and legitimate, you were in. And I think this is an antidote. It's a swing the other way to say, bring your full self to our Unitarian Universalist community. Bring your full self with all of your questions and all of your quirks to this community, and let us learn who we are and can grow together. I cannot be my fullest self without being in community with you, with all of your quirks and questions, and all of my quirks and questions. So I think when I think about spiritual growth, acceptance of each other and spiritual growth, let us all grow, not just you or just you or just you because you've got the answer or because you're legitimate or correct, but all of us in our broken beautifulness, as human beings are broken and beautiful. Let us all be together in this growth. I want to say a word about what's happening in the world this day in St. Paul today, there's kids, and throughout the country, there are laws, bills being proposed that negatively affect especially transgender kids. In Texas, I think it's already a law that any kind of gender affirming medical care should be considered as abuse. And that is traumatic just to hear. For a person who's transgender, that is traumatic just to hear. Never mind it to be enforced. Such a bill is going to be introduced in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin legislature has had several bills introduced to say that that athletes may only compete on teams that reflect their gender at birth. My Lord, they're so concerned with athletics, and those bills have been proposed all over the country. It's shocking. It's shocking. I think that this relates to the third principle and our ways of acting in the world based on our principles of acceptance of one another in all gender expressions. That old upright, the right way and the wrong way, is so deeply rooted in the binary of there's male and female, and there's no spectrum, it's just the polarities. And what we know is that idea is damaging to children and adults alike. And so this idea of acceptance of each other is to see each other in the ways we wish to be seen. And so I say, trans kids, we see you. Trans humans, we see you, and we accept and love you as you are and as you transition. And that is an article of faith for this denomination that we are in. Let me transition now to talk a bit about the fourth principle. We covenant to affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Well, when I think of how this principle may be an antidote to something else, I think of spiritual communities where there is one truth and we will tell you what it is. There's one truth, and well, it wouldn't be I, as a woman, telling you what it is, right? Some received truth comes through a priest, a male priest or a male pastor to tell you what it is, right? This is an antidote to that each of us are encouraged to engage in a free, no fetters, free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Isn't that something to have freedom and responsibility tied like that? Sometimes newcomers to Unitarian Universalism are wont to say, wow, look at this place. I can believe anything I want. I can believe anything I want, which is akin to saying we stand for nothing, right? The other side of that. But what we can do is engage ideas with each other and say, I've found this idea. How can I hold it up? What are the lenses through which I look at it to find out, is it true? Is it meaningful? What responsibility do I have? Thinking of this today as authoritarianism is rising and bombs are falling because of it. Authoritarianism says there is one truth, there is one way, and it's my way. The way of the dictator, the way of the strong man. And if you don't acquiesce to that, we will shut off the media, we will bomb your country, you will do what we say. That is not responsible. That is not responsible. And it is an antithesis to what we stand for. The freedom to express ideas, the freedom that we have, Nanette spoke of earlier, this precious freedom of democracy, and the responsibility not to believe anything we want, the responsibility to be part of a community that cares for each other. Some folks could come in and say, I don't believe in masks and I don't believe in vaccines, and that's absolutely someone's right to do that. It is not the right of that person to endanger the rest of the community. You can believe what you like, and responsibility is a piece that we hold along with that. So I think as we work to dismantle white supremacy culture, as we work toward climate justice and economic justice and gender justice and reproductive justice, responsibility comes in whose voices am I prioritizing? I want to prioritize the voices of the people who have been the most marginalized. That's my responsibility in that. There are lots of different perspectives. What's the responsibility that I take to get to a central truth? I want to just say two quick things. One is that last time when we were having our discussion after the talk, the question was raised in regard to the first principle, the worth and dignity of each person. What do we do if we have, let's say, a Hitler or a Putin to come through the door and want to be a part of our community, right? How do I accept that? How do I affirm that worth and dignity? How do I accept that person? We also have boundaries. And I think the responsibility part of searching for truth and meaning it points the way to boundaries. A healthy community has boundaries that preserve the safety and covenantal nature inside, but doesn't diminish the person who's outside. Those boundaries. You may not be, if you're not willing to be covenanted with us to affirm and promote these things, you may not be welcome to disrupt our covenanted community. But we don't want you stood up before a firing squad. We want you to be treated with worth and dignity even outside of this. I don't know if that makes sense, but as I've been focusing on this series, I thought about that. I'm going to close with the thought that our world is so filled with tension and complexity. It is almost too much to bear. And what we know and what we see, I see in your faces and I see in your faces online, is that we do not, in fact, cannot bear it alone. We bear complexity and tension together. We make meaning together. We struggle in this with our questions and our quirks together. And that is exactly because here is strength and love.